Good evening, everyone. I'm going to take my mask off to talk so it won't be muffled. Thank you so much for attending our OIG Advisory Board meeting. Today is May 29th, and even though it's a rainy day, it's a pleasant day for all of us. And just a couple of updates as we start. We do have two changes. Hi, come on in. Thank you. Please find your name and sit by a mic. We do have a couple of changes pending on our board. One was the resignation of Ralph Rizzo. No, is that how you pronounce it? Yes. And we do have his replacement with us tonight. And Isabel is going to give us an overview, and we definitely welcome him. And we also have a heartfelt goodbye from our wonderful, wonderful gentleman from the University of Baltimore. And we will let him say just a parting sweet memories in a moment before we continue. We'd like to start with a roll call, please. I'll start. I'm Gail Guilford. I'm the chairperson of the advisory board.
Jim Godey. I'm sorry, what was that?
You don't have the microphone.
Turn it on now.
I'm assuming screen's on.
There you go. Ron White from the University of Baltimore School of Law.
Raymond White, CFE.
Sorry, Isabel Cumming, Inspector General.
We still love you. Please announce yourself.
Tiana Bond.
Brian Barch, Assistant Inspector General.
Matt Neal, Deputy Inspector General.
Thank you all very much for coming on this beautiful rainy day. It's not 100 degrees outside, it's raining, so we're all happy. And with that, I'd like oh.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. And I'd like to start with Isabel. Would you please announce the replacement for Ralph? Ralph did resign from the board as of November 1st, 2023. He said that his family commitments and work schedule over the past month have made it apparent to me how impossible it will be in the coming months to give the board the time it requires to truly be effective as a board member. I am confident this decision is best for me at this time and will minimize the impact on the board's role and ongoing responsibilities. Thank you for giving me the chances to work with such a great team on the evaluation subcommittee. I look forward to hearing about the successes of the independent advisory board. Sincerely, Ralph Brusno. And with that, Isabel?
Upon receiving the resignation, we looked over because other people had applied for that position, and Mr. McCullen was the runner-up, and we reached out to the council member, and they nominated Mr. McCullen, and he was selected.
Well, welcome, Sean. Would you like to tell us a little teeny bit, maybe 2 minutes max, about yourself, please?
Oh, I'll keep it even briefer than that. Well, again, I'm Sean McCullough. I live in Southwest Baltimore. Oddly enough, well, I'm a federal contractor. Oddly enough, I work for an inspector general. So working for this, being part of this board was just very intriguing. And of course, I actually do love this city, so I wanted to just do more to help. I think that's the Reader's Digest version.
Thank you so much, Sean. James, could we have a review? Hi, welcome. Come on in. Don't worry. Just find your seat and have a seat. Want to announce for the roll call? You have to hit the button.
Hi, Lauren DiMartino.
Thank you. Jim, would you review the minutes since it's been a minute since we've all read them? They're not very long, so it shouldn't take you long. So we
Yes,
all
the
can
last advisory board meeting was on September 11th. I don't recall when we actually circulated the draft minutes, but in those minutes and at that meeting, we talked about the annual review process for the Inspector General. Gail and I and some others had met with the, I guess, did we all meet?
Yes, we all met.
Yeah. Okay. The entire meeting was with the administration from the Baltimore City Department of Human Resources. And we went over the process for reviewing the IG for calendar year 2024 using the city's map evaluation process, et cetera. After that was done, we approved the minutes from the prior meeting. Brian then gave us an update on the ethics software, which he said he would present at this meeting, I believe.
Yes.
There was a performance review subcommittee report. Ralph gave a little report, said he was going to convene a meeting of the subcommittee to establish goals and timelines. So that's obviously got to change. And Gail had mentioned that some of the board members hadn't completed their ethics forms yet.
Yes.
And then the meeting was adjourned. So it was pretty brief. So the minutes have been circulated. If anybody has any questions or comments, if not, I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second. All in favor, raise your hands. It'll be easier. Thank you. The minutes have been approved. Thank you so much, Jim. Next on the agenda, we're going to discuss the budget hearing because the budget hearing is actually Friday. The budget documentation was circulated to everyone, I believe, it's December 1st or 2nd, the first week in December of last year. We did request comments, which were then forwarded to the OIG team. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Isabel.
So the budget hearing is Friday at 11 o'clock. It's open to the public. Both Gail and Jim Godey will be there sitting with us when we make this presentation. This is a very similar presentation to what we will be doing, unless there's any concerns from you, on Friday. This is starting last year. The city council actually has the ability to increase our budget. Before they had the ability to just decrease. So this is an opportunity that we can possibly ask for additional monies. So our first, we have to do an overview, and we basically say what the office does, which is, of course, to identify financial waste, fraud, and abuse. And what we try to do is, promote this office and make sure citizens realize that we are here for them, which is exactly what our entire mission is. This year's goals, they were our fiscal 25 goals, and they were developed working with the finance team. This is what one was: to enhance the training efforts to make sure our team is, we're hoping that they become certified Inspector General investigators. And we also hope that they become certified fraud examiners. And both of these two criteria together really, we have found in the past, make the strongest investigator, which of course we're trying to have. Competencies and the workforce diversity. And those are things that we are always trying to move forward. The Office of the Inspector General is actually one of the most diverse offices in Baltimore City, and we've been that way for several years now. Next important thing, and there are a few of you that are still outstanding on these financial disclosures, which are very important for the city of Baltimore. We're hoping, but you will find when you fill these out. They're very cumbersome and they're very difficult because if you make a mistake, which we all do, at least I know I do lots of them, you have to like start over again to do it. So we have been working very hard to try to streamline the ethics reporting processes for the employees and council and, the electeds and also members of commissions for Baltimore City. So we're talking about 3,500 people. So that was a big part of our budget last year. It ended up that the IT department, and Brian's going to talk about that, they agreed to pick up that cost for us because this is something that goes across the entire city. So that's an important thing that we're trying desperately to have that happen. So we're not a big office, as you know. So we just have one line item, which is the Inspector General. We're hoping, and I know this board wants to, and we're going to talk with them again on Friday, to be able to separate the Inspector General and the ethics. As the Inspector General, I am the ethics director, but I always have a delegate for that. And here today, that's Chris Amberger. And we have 3 PIN numbers for the ethics department, as well as we have our agents doing the investigations for ethics as well. And ethics is a robust part of our office as well. So this is the actual numbers. This year, this is what our targets were, how we were actually hoping for. Our target is 100. This year, at this moment, we've done 119 actual criminal, civil, or administrative actions. And the year doesn't end until July 1st or June 30th. So we have 2 more reports that will be coming out. So we will probably end up with about 121, and which is 3 less than last year, but we definitely are moving forward. Now, just so you know, when I first started back in 2018, the amount of savings and waste that we in the Inspector General's office had was $280,000. This year, our actual is $16 million. Our office costs $2.6 million. So we're one of the few places in Baltimore City where we have a strong return on investment for the citizens of Baltimore. And that's very important to us. We've had some very good cases this year.
Isabel, can you just clarify, is the 16 million confirmed fraud and abuse, or is it alleged fraud?
They were items that we wrote reports for that was some findings that were confirmed in our findings. So for instance, we had all the retirement people from the Board of Education. They had not set up the retirement correctly, and all those people weren't going to be able to retire. We had a situation where we had a $7 million discrepancy between what HUD said we owed and water bills. That was in there. So they're the identified waste or fraud that we have been able to find. Yeah. So next page. And interestingly enough, the other big area that we as the Inspector General's office is very proud of is our hotline. Again, when I first started, we had 70. For the past umpteen years, we've had over 700. At this point this year, we have 760, and we still have some months to go. Oh, no, we have a month to go. A month. But still, that's over 700. So interestingly enough, everybody asks is where do our complaints come from? And so a huge amount is from the citizens. Now, it says 60%, but if we go to the next thing, the next one is anonymous or confidential informants. Well, that is 26%. Now, citizens as well as employees fall in that packet because many times with retaliation, people are always presenting things anonymously or as confidential informants. So then we have the City of Baltimore employees, which is 13%. But I truly believe that a good 20% of our anonymous complaints are from employees as well. And then we have our others, which is very small, 1%, but that's from our local partners, such as federal, state, local, other entities, other OIG shops. So that's what makes up our sources of complaints. And then we have our ethics highlights. So right now, financial disclosures to date, we have almost 3,000, 2,906. We will be getting a few more. Help desk requests. We have a tremendous number of help desk requests.
In fact, that number was so tremendous, it didn't actually remain in the,
But you're going to tell me what it is, right?
but it is about 860 so far. We have 60 help desk requests that have not been logged yet.
Right.
And we still have a month to go.
And a lot of that is because of the difficulty of the system, which we are desperately trying to fix. As far as complaints, we get constant ethical complaints. So that's a big part of what Christopher actually goes through. And this year, 27 of the complaints were actually reviewed by him, investigated, but then closed for lack of jurisdiction or other reasons. And one investigation is currently open. So this this Venn diagram,
That's the help desk requests.
those are the different help desks we come. So as you can see, 41% is about financial disclosures and how to do them correctly. So that is a place we desperately need some help. So, and those last two charts won't be included on Friday. I just wanted you all to know. So any questions?
Isabel, I'll start with
Okay.
one question.
Oh.
Thank you, Isabel. I'll start with one question and one recommendation. The recommendation is the financial disclosure was extremely difficult for me because when someone passes on to the next life, and if you are the person that inherited their positions, the ethics form is not user-friendly. It doesn't like you putting two properties down with two different names within the same calendar year. As a matter of fact, it won't allow you to. I would like to suggest that there be a small part in how to complete the financial disclosure associated with death, inheritance, whatever name you can come up with that's not offensive and not hurtful, because I'm sure I'm not the only one in life who's ever had to deal with such. And property is the biggest issue. My second is a question. Last year, we submitted, hi, how are you, dear? We submitted a letter to the board regarding the software. Would you like us to do a letter regarding the separate budget accounts? Because we desperately need that.
That would be a good idea. And we will submit that. And we'll also mention it again. I think we should mention it on Friday as well.
Okay.
You know, another thing about the financial disclosures, if we're putting this on the record, Puerto Rico doesn't exist. Because I can't even put it down as, because, it's technically, it's a territory, but I can't report that. So as a Puerto Rican, I have a little problem with that. Because I do have land there. So
Any other questions or suggestions regarding the ethics? And then we'll go to the budget. Well, I'm glad to know I'm the only one who had a problem filling out the ethics report this time. Okay. All right. How about any questions regarding the budget? I know we all had the budget documents, and we did have a meeting early last year. How are you? Going over budget lines, because some of the board members wanted to kind of change the way the budget was reported, but the budget for Baltimore City, everybody is the same form. Everybody has to work with the same categories, and everybody has to report the same way into the same non-user friendly system. So, are there any questions or suggestions regarding the budget? Okay. With that said, is everyone comfortable with our presentation for the budget hearing before City Council this Friday? Could I have someone to, thank
Do you
you.
need to make a request for an increase?
If I'm asked, I would. I'm interested in increasing at least one pin. I would like to be able to focus money on the ARPA money or also with,
Could you explain ARPA for those that don't know?
that is the $640 million the city of Baltimore was given. And it was given it during the pandemic. And so it's been 3 years. And so now the money is actually going out and starting to be spent. So now that's when it's a good time for us to actually spend some focus on where the money's going and that type of thing. So that's one area that I think, and just we have situations arise where it becomes an all hands on deck type of situation in the office. So to have, we currently have seven agents. So to have just one more would make a tremendous difference because I still have a pending list of investigations that we haven't even been able to get to. And
I want to apologize. We don't need to vote on the acceptance of what we're going to discuss at the budget hearing until we hear from Brian Barch regarding the software. Because if anybody's there took good notes, they're going to ask us what is the status of that software. Because if you remember, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting, we actually sent a letter from the board requesting that City Council really, really try to add that money into our budget. And since everybody in the City Council also has to fill out the exact same form we did, we didn't even really have to talk about the troubles because they all had the same troubles we have. So with that said, Brian, could you give us an update, please?
So there's good news and bad news. So the good news is we are in the stage of reviewing the final 2 vendors that qualified and submitted proposals. We were very close, actually early in January, with another vendor, but due to the length of the process to get them encumbered into a contract and qualified and all of the wonderful things that the city requires, they had to bow out because they were not making money. And unfortunately, that is the thing that drives business. So we had to quickly restart the process, and with a more targeted, more focused help from BCIT, we are very far along in the process, and hopefully we will be submitting for before the BOE in July.
Okay, did the fact that you changed vendors require the new vendors to do any extensive customization?
So what happened was when we first reviewed vendors originally, there were no vendors who came forth who specialized in that space. So everything was going to have to be custom. So they basically had to get a custom team available to make the product, but in doing so, in the length of the time it took to make it through the negotiation process, it just became untenable for the vendor.
So the 2 vendors that you're reviewing now will be doing customization?
Actually, they will be doing more out of the box application. So the exciting thing is in the 7 months that it took to kind of go through that initial review process, there's it's become more of a demand to have these kinds of applications.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So we're in the process of scoring which is going to be the better for the city
Yeah.
at large.
All of us should know less customization, quicker implementation. Yeah, and that's really good.
There'll be more off the shelf
Okay, great.
applications.
Any other questions about the software upgrade? Okay, thank you, Brian. With Brian finished, could we go back and could I hear a motion to accept what we're going to do on Friday for the budget hearing? And by the way, what time is it? 11 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock. Thank you. I think I have, you seconding? Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Isabel, could you repeat Brittany's question? Because I'm sure, because she's not at a mic, no one heard it.
Brittany, she asked, with the $16 million that at the current time that the OIG pointed out, does the city reimburse that? No. No. What usually happens is there'll be a corrective measure moving forward, especially if, an entire process has to change, or there's been a correction as far as, people were not signed up for, in one case, people were not signed up for retirement, and then they realized they're going to have to pay that, which they had all earned. Looking over the different types of cases, I mean, one of them is an active criminal case right now. I'm hoping that the person's found guilty and will get restitution, and that was about $100 and some $1,000. So they're all different types of cases, and pretty much the city would not reimburse. It's more that processes will change, so we will not continue to waste money. Yeah, unless it becomes criminal.
And I can speak to that. Brian and I worked on a case, about 5 years ago, when we were working both together in IT, and unfortunately, somebody didn't have the eyes on the paper goods, and I discovered overbilling from a vendor within who was participating in an IT contract. And after researching, and criminal charges were lodged, they were found guilty, and the money was recovered through the federal court system, but it didn't come to IT. It went to the Baltimore City budget.
Does the OIG have an annual audit plan that they share with or a work plan of the criminal cases or audits or evaluations that are going to be done for that fiscal year or for this fiscal year?
That's a great question. The OIG actually does no audits. We are not the auditors for the city. That is the controller, and he has close to 40 people in his audit team, and they have to do, the yellow book type standards where you have to lay out the plan and that type of thing. The office of the OIG is actually much more reactive. We react to what the citizens tell us in the hotline complaints. And so we have a strategic plan, which is on our website. However, there's no way you can plan for what comes in the door. We often shake our heads that we don't know what's happening from day to day because you don't know what the focus is going to be. Yeah.
Evaluations.
We are 100% investigations.
Okay.
Yeah. Audits are not even in the Green Book standards that we do. Yeah. Of course.
You're welcome.
Brian, I have a quick question. In terms of the vendors, you got 2 more vendors you're vetting right now. Are you also looking at contingency and continuity plans with them, in that if they go out of business, what happens to the software?
There's always within the contracts that are delved out by law, contingencies baked into those contracts. So, there are always contingencies baked into general city contracts, or at least the ones that I've been a part of.
Okay, thank you.
And being the former CISO and also the IT director for Baltimore City Police, he is correct. That is all part of the contract that any vendor signs. In some cases, it might even say that you allow consultants access to the proprietary part of the software if there are changes. It just depends on what the contract is, but each one is negotiated via the procurement standards. And then Brian and Isabel will also have the ability to add anything as a standard to those contracts. Yes.
I didn't realize that the OIG doesn't have audit authority, that's the controller. So if the controller conducts an audit and finds that government dollars have been misspent, is there then a referral to the OIG? Is that where you come in the aftermath of that finding?
A lot of times it actually goes the other way. We would get a hotline, we would do an investigation, and then I make referrals to the controller to please do an audit. And in fact, that's why right now there's an audit of Safe Streets. There's an audit of certain places that's going on in the city, because that becomes part of their audit plan. And as the Inspector General, just because I have the position, I am on the biennial audit committee where we review and try to make those plans. And so I usually bring the insight that I have with this job to recommend audits that should happen, because there is a very big difference between an audit and an investigation.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great discussion. Any more? Because the more we understand, the better we are. And for us to be a new board, I'm so proud of the steps that we are taking so that we truly, you okay? Yeah, okay. That we are taking to learn more. So never please be worried about asking a question, and also never please worry about a recommendation for us to do something that is going to help us be better board members. Okay. With that said, we'll just wait till she comes back into the room so we can have a vote. Let's go on to the HR meeting because I know our time is limited. I want to thank everybody who came. That was a long meeting, but I think everybody came out of that with a better understanding if you had not worked for Baltimore City government and not experienced the evaluation process. I know it was several months ago, which is why I brought with me today some of the extra copies. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, Sean. I went to make sure. Did you have any questions about what we have been doing so far?
No.
Okay, all right. That's why I bought a copy of the documentation. I would ask that everybody please review this. And HR is willing to come back in because we are going to have to do an evaluation of Isabel. And it cannot just be her financial report. With that said, I'm going to stop and go back to the vote on the acceptance of what we're going to present on Friday to City Council regarding the budget and also our software. Could I have a motion, please? Second?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hands. The motion on the floor to accept our strategy and our conversation with City Council on Friday was approved, and thank you. Now switch back to the HR, okay? this evaluation is really important. I think the HR team stressed it really wasn't done like it should have been done the last time. They are really willing to help us. And the packet I gave out, do you need a copy of this? Did you get this at the last meeting? Yes. There's actually, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You can pass it down. Hope I didn't give away my last one. Wait a minute. Let me see. Yeah, I got another one. No. Okay, the last page of it was the actual form. Thank you. I'll give this back to you, Jim. Was the actual evaluation form. HR did mention that they were updating that form, but it wasn't going to happen for this year. So we really need to reactivate the evaluation subcommittee because Ralph was the chairperson. I don't remember the people that had volunteered to be on the committee with him. Could you identify yourselves for us, please? Brittany, Jim? Yes. Okay, Gary. So we need a chairperson and we also need someone else to join that committee. Okay, Raymond is volunteering for both or just one? I got you good. Oh, I got you good.
I think he said both.
I'll do both.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Raymond. Okay. Any committee members, any subcommittee members that have any information that was gathered under Ralph, I really would appreciate it if you would forward it to Raymond, because we really need to get started on this. And I have a feeling, and so does HR. As a matter of fact, I saw Quentin at the Ladinsky Award it's been 3 weeks ago now. It was the 20th anniversary of the Ladinsky Award. And he said, I haven't heard anything from your group. Are you guys okay? I said, we know we need you back, Quentin, but give us a chance to get the subcommittee on board.
Do you have a time frame?
I can answer that one. They're due. It's going to be the evaluation for ending December 31st, 2024. So they're usually due in February. It'll be February of 25. Yeah. But they're supposed to do a mid-year or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Brian will tell you mid-year so that you have something to meet with quarterly to determine the status you're making on fulfilling everything that you put in it.
That would be after July 1st.
Excuse me 1 second. We had death in the family this morning. That's my niece. I just need to tell her I'm in the meeting. Okay, so what I would like to ask for the subcommittee to do, if you could get together virtually, email, however you guys decide to do it, and at least get the ball rolling so that we could have something to present to us as a starting point, because each member really needs to go back and look at that last page, because we've got to come up with some ideas as to how we are going to incorporate the columns that need to be there, what we're going to come up. And Brian will tell you, I'm a firm believer, we need your input as well, Isabel, because we want it to be realistic, but we also don't want to be giving anything away to somebody. Yes, sir.
So the competency rating tool, this is what you want us to review?
Yes, sir, because that is actually what the system looks like. As you can see, it says you have to come up with performance objectives, performance competencies, supervisor, managerial, and executive competencies. We've got to come up with plans and how we're going to evaluate and based on what. That's why I bought this in case it wasn't fresh in everybody's mind again. Maybe before we leave, if you could make an extra copy, because I think this is my last one. Okay, but we really need to be.
Last one too.
Oh, it's your last one too. And I can try to scan it and then I can submit it to everyone again, just in case they don't know where it is.
We can do that too. We can
Okay.
just scan the whole thing and send it out to
Okay.
everybody.
Yes, Brittany.
So is there a self-assessment, Isabella, that you do?
Yeah.
That you can provide to the subcommittee?
That's what usually, it's a form. Everything is a form. So I was supposed to fill out 2 goals. I think I did that back in January. And then I don't know where it is, but I will find it and I will submit that to everybody. Because I think I think a lot of that is already pre-filled out.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's more.
But you have to select how you're going to get to your goals, correct, Brian?
With the new system, it's on.
Okay.
With the new system, it's the same but a little bit different.
A little bit different. Okay.
And we can probably take you guys through a walkthrough through Workday at some point in time.
Yes, that's true. Because I know it's development goals and completion dates, and the completion dates should be not just one date. You should have certain things that you're going to complete each quarter. Does Workday allow that? Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so typically, just from my experience with the self-assessment, even though it's the line or the box may be pre-populated and it's electronic, we have to fill that information in, and it gives us a chance to view. Maybe there was something that we forgot. Maybe it was a measure that you met. Maybe it's a certain goal that you met, but it gives the manager, the supervisor, or the approver some type of guideline to go by of your accomplishments, each year.
Absolutely. That's and you do it, and it is incorporated. And the beauty of doing it quarterly or however you want to do it is that things do change. Because let's say when we had the ransomware attack, all the goals we had in our evaluations went zoom, because that was no longer the major success of the city. So yes, and that's why you have it there, and that's why they recommend you have like dates of baby steps, if that's still in there, and it looks like it is. But yes, and
I want to be clear: so in the process, is there 2 opportunities for them for the I'll just say employee to complete a self-assessment, or just one at the end of the performance year? So is there one that's done for mid-year and one that's done for final, or is it just one?
Actually, this part I'm turning over to Matt, who's our deputy, because he just did all of them for our employees. So he's the most refreshed.
Yeah, so everything's in Workday now. It used to be an Excel form just like that. It's still the same format in Workday, where there's goals to fill it out for the mid-year and then for the final evaluation. And then along with that, there's SMART goals, which are now like the performance competencies. And those, the SMART goal is kind of an acronym. They're supposed to be, measurable, attainable, and there should be a toolkit that goes along with that kind of will help guide that. And when you submit those in Workday, because I think right now in Workday, I think your submittal goes actually, I think, to the someone else. It doesn't go to the advisory board. And I'm not sure how their HR is going to work that. I know they talked about that a little bit at the last meeting, but it could be a bunch of different, things depending on what the goal is. But it's something that it could stretch out for over the year. It could be, a short-term goal. So yeah, it's mainly that midpoint and the final evaluation, and not so much the quarterly. But the employee has the opportunity to write down their self-assessment, and then after that, then the evaluator goes in and writes their comments, and then they use those ratings to kind of see where they fall there.
Okay, I mean, the subcommittee, we can discuss it further, but I think that's something that we would request to help guide us as we do our evaluation, even if it's just a printout of what's in Workday.
Right, but if I'm not mistaken, the employee self-evaluation is not a total separate document sitting over here in Workday. It is a part of this. It might be a separate form, but it is not a separate form that stands on its own, because there's a column for employee self-assessment, and they should be the same. You following me?
Actually, it's the same form. It's
No,
the same.
I meant the employees' goals should be the same. There are only one set of goals for them to complete. It's not the same of maybe you having a discussion with your management. Maybe your goal was to get some certification. But in order to get that certification, you have to take 5 classes. And maybe in May, I sit down with you and say, how you coming with the class? You said, girl, the way this job's been growing, I've only done 3. Well, then it becomes my responsibility to help you make sure you do the 2 that you are behind in, so that you can fulfill your whole goal at the end. And that's why I was saying the goals are here, they're documented, but you do have the ability for certain circumstances to keep the person from being
Open-ended forms. Is that what you're saying? That it's not an open-ended write something about yourself, about what you have for the year? Or is it something that you select and it carries over?
It's two different things. As you have the evaluation part, which is you do a self-assessment and then you get evaluated. So we're doing the exact same thing. You had an item, and I would self-assess on that item, and then you would evaluate me on that item. One and the same. And then aside from that, there's a separate section that has
section,
goals.
not form, section. Okay.
Yeah, that says goals. And that's where you would list, to become a certified fraud examiner, to try to do something, or whatever goal you would hope to attain. So that's a separate, but it's all, as an employee of Baltimore City, the Inspector General is what's called a MABS. That's the union that they're in. So that's why the Inspector General has to have the same type of form as everybody in that category. So, yeah, and we will actually print out what's in Workday and actually send it to everybody. So it'll be a lot clearer. And in there also, there's a tutorial, isn't there? So we will print that out for you too, to try to make it as easy as possible.
Question. Is it possible for the subcommittee to get a live walkthrough of it?
Yeah, Quentin is very willing and able and anxious to work with us. So just let me know, and I will introduce you as the new chairperson of the subcommittee. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Via email, and we can email me tonight or tomorrow, and then you can set it up. Oh yeah, and Lindsay, yeah, definitely Lindsay. Lindsay Wines is her name. She would also be someone that would be good to assist on it, but that would be Quentin's call. Yeah. Okay. And this was only a sample of the way the system used to be when they were doing the presentation. I don't think they had printouts from Workday, okay? Because that was earlier this year. When did everything go? Yeah, that's right, last year. it didn't go, it wasn't completely online at that point. So last year.
This year will be our first full year in Encumbered and
Yes.
Workday.
Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, it's getting close to the bewitching hour. I'd like to, just real quick, are there any other burning discussions we need to have before 6:30 and we lose Charm City?
How can I access my email?
The email that Brian sent you?
Yes.
Brian?
So I'm going to re-engage with all of you now that some of the issues have settled down a little bit.
Okay.
And I'm going to probably re-engage a few of you to make sure that you have provided your 118-1 agreements to me. And once that happens, we'll go through a process of doing a tutorial of how to access the remote systems.
And anyone that has a
Thank you.
legal conflict or issue because of their daily job, please notify me and I'll get with Brian and Isabel to see what we can do. Because we do know, depending on the type of security clearance that someone may or may not have, perhaps there could be some issues. And also, please do those financial disclosures, even if you did like I did with question mark, question mark, question mark. And I think this is right, you know? Any other items out? Well, I think it's 6:28, isn't it? 23. Oh, we have 7 whole minutes, everybody. Any other suggestions for the ethics group? All of us that did the financial disclosures? Everybody, it was easy for you all? Okay.
Have to do it for the state.
Right.
Yeah. I think we all would. Well, I'm sure if we didn't do it right, we would hear from someone.
Those of us who have to complete it for the state ethics commission, could it just be, you know, if you've done it there, you don't have to do it here? Okay, just a thought.
The same information.
Yes.
I apologize for the state of software that was
Homegrown.
initially developed as a patch, and that has been patched over many times. And hopefully we will have something in place that works properly and easily. One of our main focuses that we have communicated to the vendors is that it should be easy for the user to access from anywhere and save it, and actually have access to previously filed
Yes.
records that
Yes.
may populate automatically, where only changes have to be noted or submitted. So hopefully next year we will not have that discussion. Next year everyone will have done this in 15 seconds or less.
And also in the next meeting, we need to be thinking about all of the items that we had as high priority that we needed to work on. And one was evaluation, and the other was setting some rules and guidelines, and also surrounding if we had to be in a position to recruit, or if we had a situation where Isabel wants to keep her job. We have tabled that. We need to get back on that, but we need that subcommittee working on evaluation first. And if you go back and look at I think it's in the handbook that lists specifically the things we're supposed to do. Okay. And you might want to refresh yourself on that. And I do apologize for me being a little out of the loop, but it has been an interesting year for me. So I thank you for your patience and I thank you for everybody's support. And with that, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So before adjourning, am I correct that, as you know, I'm leaving
Oh,
my
yeah.
position in
Oh,
Baltimore?
you didn't talk about that.
Oh, that's all right.
No, go ahead. Come on.
No, I just want to make sure that my successor is automatically a member of the board. I've enjoyed my time on the board. It's been worthwhile. I very much admire the Inspector General and the work that she does and that the office does. And I just want to make sure that my position is filled by my successor, LaVonda Reed, who will be becoming Dean of the University of Baltimore School of Law on July 1st.
Okay. Do we have her email information?
It will be lreed@ubalt.edu.
Right, and she does by law become mandatory. So it's our positions that continue on, except for all you all. Just the two deans are the by position.
Yeah, we just have to update everything.
Correct.
To make sure.
I've alerted her so that
Okay,
this is
great.
part of her service, and she'll be ready to be here when she receives notice of the next meeting.
Okay. Were you on any of the subcommittees? Okay. All right. Yes.
Thanks for your leadership, Gail. I know we've had a lot going on. Just curious when you think time frame will be for the next meeting. Are we looking for the fall? Sooner?
This is almost June. I think we need to be looking at sooner than the fall. If the subcommittee could give me a time frame, what do you think, Raymond? 30 days?
Yes, 30 days can work.
Okay, let's say 45 days for the subcommittee. And once I get that report, then I'd like to try to reschedule a meeting. The only thing that we have to always abide by is 2 weeks notification on the website.
1 week.
1 week notification on the website. So,
And Gail,
yes, sir.
and we're missing one member. Are we going to discuss that as well too, or no?
What do you mean?
We're missing one member.
One board member?
Yes.
Just one?
Yes.
Actually, maybe two.
Maybe two, I think. It's Nicole and
Yes.
do you know something about Nicole?
I don't know, but you guys discussed it at the beginning of the meeting, so I didn't know about her resigning.
We have
don't
not
know.
gotten an official resignation. We're going to reach out to her.
Okay.
Yeah, I have not gotten anything. I officially got Ralph's. He sent me an email. I have not gotten anything from Nicole.
Got it.
But I will reach out to her since I think you guys heard something. Yeah, okay. And if we do, Isabel, you want to explain that process again?
Right. If in that case, if somebody resigns, because all the board, remember, it came down to, for instance, districts 1 and 2, 2 and 3, no, the 1 and 2, 3 and 4, so if for instance, and then those two names were picked by the chairman of the ethics board. If, like, for instance, one resigned, then 2 would become the automatic, because those were the people that were originally selected. So, but if there's a case that for instance, 5 and 6, if 5 had resigned and 6 had resigned, then we have to open it up to the public and for both those two districts to pick. So.
But as of this meeting
We don't know.
at 5:30, I don't know. I have not received anything official.
Thank you.
Right. So that's how Sean became
Yes.
a board member. It wasn't, I couldn't remember, but in reality, it was because the two districts that were picked, Ralph had been selected by the ethics board. You were the runner-up, and that's how you became. And then you graciously accepted it.
And we do appreciate it. Okay. Could I have a motion to adjourn before we lose the camera?
So
Please.
moved.
Second? Okay. All in favor, raise your hands. thank you, everyone. And we will have more timely meetings. Okay. Thank you.